You state that you were 16 at the time that you first got involved with ELMO.
Tonight, a third man has come forward claiming he had sexual relations with Class while he was underage.
I was extremely vulnerable when I met Kevin.
Groping, masturbation, just a lot of intense kissing and things of that kind.
As a kid, I watched Elmo on TV almost every day. His cute little body covered in red fur screams innocence, but that's far from the truth. The voice and mastermind behind Elmo is a predator. This is Kevin Clash. He used his power in Hollywood to groom and later get physical with boys ages 15 to 16 years old. He was able to escape charges by paying his way out of it, but his legacy will forever stain Sesame Street and the little red monster named Elmo. So let's get into it. I need to talk to you guys about one of the most disturbing stories I've ever read. But before we talk about this monster named Elmo, I would really appreciate it if you guys go and check out my podcast. It's not out yet, but if you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel or leave a review on Spotify or Apple Music, that will be super helpful when I meet with my partners next week and we plan to release the show. But let me introduce you guys to Kevin Clash. He is the voice behind Elmo. So I'm sorry to everyone who believed Elmo was some red furry creature running around. He's not. He's a puppet controlled by this man.
Elmo is laughter and love and just wanting to hug and kiss and be validated. And that's what kids are like.
Elmo's supposed to be a sweet character for children, not a predator for minors. And Kevin's been accused by multiple men of getting physical with them over 10 years ago when they were minors. I do want to give you guys a disclaimer that Kevin has been cleared of all of these charges, but it's pretty sketchy because one was paid off and then the other three, they were dismissed because of statute of limitations.
Elmo puppeteer Kevin Clash resigned amid allegations of sexual abuse, and I can't believe it. Well, I can, but I mean, how sad. I mean, really? When initial child abuse allegations came the week before Thanksgiving, I refused to do a story. I didn't want to believe it. Elmo? I mean, really? Elmo? He's so small and little and fluffy and cute.
He's right. Elmo is so small, so fluffy, so cute. I mean, why should we be scared of him? And who would have ever thought that there was a predator seeking out minors behind the puppet? TMZ initially broke this story and they put out a piece about Kevin having an intimate relationship with a 16-year-old. Oddly enough, this person who accused Kevin actually retracted their accusations. It's not entirely clear why. Did Kevin threaten them or pay them off? I don't know because it never went to court.
You state that you were 16 at the time that you first got involved with Elmo, the voice of Elmo, Kevin Clash.
Yes,
now, it's my understanding that you were born September 30 of 1987, and that the incident occurred in the summer of 87. So that would put you, what, 1 month shy of your 17th birthday?
Not 1 month, about 2 or 3 months.
Well, which one is it?
Well, it will be like 3 months because it was at the beginning of the summer, ending of the spring.
Now, it's
Nancy Grace is really trying to catch him slipping up on the timeline, but he later goes on to explain what Kevin was promising him, which is a big problem in Hollywood because these people reach a certain level and then they convince vulnerable people that they can give them a career in entertainment.
He offered to send a limo service to come and pick me up from my home.
Okay, and that night, it was around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yes.
What did you think was going to happen at this man's house?
Well, at the time, I really didn't have a clue. He just, he asked me what are some things I like to do. I told him I was into music, I like movies, I like games, and he really basically told me that he can do all of that for me. He can help me with my music and take me to studios and introduce me to songwriters.
So obviously none of that ever happened, and he ultimately retracted his claims. But this started a huge wave of guys coming forward claiming that Kevin did something very similar to them when they were 15, 16 years old. Let's talk about Sheldon Stevens, because Sheldon came out and he did a few different interviews, but at first he was asking these media outlets to pay him. They were like, we're not paying you anything. And he ultimately agreed to do an interview for free. Steven claims that he met Kevin when he was 16 years old at an entertainment industry charity mixer. At that point, Kevin was about 43 or 44 at the time. Kevin offered to stay in touch and to introduce him to prominent industry representatives, which does Elmo have that much power? And at first, it looks like Kevin doesn't admit that he works as the Elmo voice, because a lot of these guys don't know at first until they look him up and figure it out for themselves. So they kept in touch, and eventually Kevin invited Sheldon to come to New York City for a visit. This is where everything turns dark, because supposedly Kevin had his driver pick up this Sheldon guy. They all ended up hanging out and using crystal meth and getting physical with each other. Ultimately, Kevin and Sheldon did end up going all the way, but Sheldon did not go much further with this driver who he never seen again. This driver should be investigated because he's definitely enabling and like participating in these crimes, and he's helping Kevin secure these kids and also doing whatever he wants to do with them. Once Sheldon turned 20 years old, he started having realizations, and he thought that, you know what, Kevin stole my manhood and I want to confront him about this. And he did, but Kevin never replied. And at this point, Sheldon started to figure out that this guy, Kevin, was hanging out with a lot of young boys, and it's crazy. I don't know if Sheldon got too old for Kevin because now he's 20 and he's ignoring him and he's, got his own thing going, because there are many more victims. Sheldon was the first victim to really pursue justice, and he did end up getting a settlement, which I guess helps, but still there's nothing on Kevin's record to warn anyone else.
All right, and guess who's here? The monster himself. Hey, Elmo.
Hello. Hello, Miss Erin. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Your hair and makeup look very nice tonight.
Oh, thank you. Well, Elmo doesn't have the hair. Elmo has fur.
Because of these allegations from Sheldon, Kevin actually resigned from Sesame Street. This was before more damning information about his past came out, so he didn't even really fight it. He knew that this was coming and he checked out because he did not want to get fired. Now let's talk about one of Kevin's most outspoken accusers. His name is Cecil Singleton. He actually decided to come forward because he saw what Sheldon and the first accuser had said about Kevin, and he felt like he needed to go and tell his story so that future kids aren't taken advantage of by this guy. Cecil ends up suing Kevin. But just to give you guys some context, at this point in Kevin's life, he had just got out of a marriage. He was married to a former nurse named Gina. So I'm guessing she did not know that he was secretly gay, and maybe she found out, they ended up divorcing, but at this point, he was talking to these 15, 16-year-olds while going through a divorce with his wife. Cecil's been quoted saying that Kevin is a predator who capitalizes on his unique position as a child's entertainer to target vulnerable victims. He's suing him for $5.5 million, saying, quote, Kevin was in a unique position to know that I would be vulnerable. The fact that he worked with children, I was worried by not coming forward, I'd put him in contact with other victims.
I was extremely vulnerable when I met Kevin. I just dealt with a situation where a man that I lived with and cared about for 10 years had violated my trust.
Your stepfather?
Yes. Among that, I just finished spending 2 years in foster care. I was extremely vulnerable, and as far as I'm concerned, Kevin, with his profession, was in a unique position to know that I would be a receptive victim.
What's freaky about this situation is that they met on an online app, and at this time, Cecil wasn't honest. He claimed that he was 18, but he wasn't. But it actually turns out that Mr. Kevin was also lying about his age on the app. He claimed that he was 36, but he was actually 42. And at this point, Cecil was 15 years old. I do respect that Cecil describes himself as a compliant victim. He feels like he's a victim because this person was in a powerful situation and knew what he was doing, but at the end of the day, he was also participating in this. He ultimately cut off his relationship with Kevin, but he believes that Kevin buying him gifts and pretty much grooming him as a child is enough to sue him over.
This second claim left Kevin with no choice but to resign. Not only his and Elmo's reputation was at stake, but all of the Sesame Street's as well. Now, in a statement, Singleton talks about things that you would never in a million years associate with the little red icon that we know. He says, quote, "We had a sexual relationship, but we did not have intercourse until years later. Groping, masturbation, just a lot of intense kissing and things of that kind."
So when he was a minor, Kevin and him did not go all the way, but they did do some things. And I can't get over this one snippet right here, guys. Oh my God, because literally when Kevin found out that he was 15, that's when he revealed, oh yeah, I'm actually 36. And he told them that age is only a number. Quote, "Kevin didn't seem surprised when I told him that I was an adult, but he sees him as an adult." And I'm not surprised that Kevin wasn't surprised, because Kevin probably looked at this kid and can tell that he's 15 years old, and he enjoyed every moment of it. Sicko. So as I mentioned, they didn't go all the way when he was a minor, but they did do some things, enough to raise concerns.
2 weeks into my initial relationship with Kevin at 15, mainly because I just remember telling myself that he seemed to really like me, and I remember just telling myself, let me spare him now because I know that I can't do this. If I had to make an educated guess and say if we had stayed together, we more than likely would have had sex at that age.
I believe Cecil's story because he could easily say, yeah, we did it all the way and just really trash Kevin. But it seems like he's being honest to me, and doing all of this press, it's pretty hard to lie to all these different people. They'll end up catching you.
We had a sexual relationship, but we did not have intercourse until years later.
I'm a little confused about that. What does that mean? You had a sexual relationship, but you didn't have intercourse 2 years later?
Yeah. I guess you would.
So there was when he was 15 and 16, there was sexual contact, but not intercourse.
Dr. Drew actually had him on, and he shared a little bit about his story, saying that he feels stupid, naive, and guilty, and that he could have put Kevin in contact with more children. So he feels like he was an enabler back then, and that's why he's so motivated to speak out now. Some people back then, though, were trashing on Cecil because you're suing him for $5.5 million. That's a lot of money. What are you thinking? And it is a lot. Did his lawyer make up that number? Who made up that number? Because Cecil didn't just pull it out of his mind. But he claims that he's just truly angry for what he went through as a 15-year-old. And as far as he's concerned, Kevin can keep the $5 million as long as we acknowledge what you did then was wrong.
I mean, the fact that he deals with young people.
The fact that he works with children, yes.
Is that you're concerned he could victimize other children?
That was pretty much my main motivation for coming forward. I felt extremely guilty, by seeing a decent side of him, or seeing what I wanted to, that I had put him in contact with more children or more potential victims. And I couldn't live with that. It was more than just a prerogative. It was a duty, or a sense of responsibility that made me come forward.
And it is so wrong. It's disgusting when you see how many victims there are. And of course, when all of these allegations came out, Kevin had nothing to say.
Elmo, how do you react if people say mean things to you?
Elmo doesn't.
You don't react?
No.
It doesn't bother you?
Elmo has no idea or understand why.
All right.
Ultimately, Cecil never got justice because he filed this outside of the statute of limitations, which is the case for the next two victims I'm going to talk to you guys about.
New tonight, more trouble for puppeteer and Turner Station native Kevin Clash. Clash, who's better known as the voice of Elmo on Sesame Street.
Well, tonight a third man has come forward claiming he had sexual relations with Clash while he was underage. And ABC 2 News' Christian Shaver here now with more on that story.
So these next few accusers are a little bit more private than Cecil, and others, but they wanted to join Cecil's lawsuit because they had similar experiences. So these next victims are anonymous. So we're going to call this guy D.O. He was 16 back in the year 2000, and he was on an app called Power Chat, the same app that Kevin used to meet Cecil. And they met on that app, and Kevin decided to go by the name Craig and claimed that he was 30 years old. After 2 days of talking on the phone, Kevin invited D.O. to his apartment. D.O. claims that when he arrived at the apartment, Kevin offered him alcohol and they engaged in sexual contact, including oral and, they went all the way. And actually, D.O. was a virgin at this time. I mean, he's only 16, so they did it all.
Singleton's attorney says another man will outline similar accusations against Clash. The third accuser is now 29 and says he was 16 when he had sexual relations with Clash. Cecil Singleton is now 24. He says he was 15.
The lawyer for this victim claims that they were together for about a year, and then after they split up, they still kept in touch, but he wants to remain anonymous because he's moved on with his life and his job, and he doesn't want to be re-victimized, but he joined this lawsuit to stand behind these other victims because he has the same story. Now let's move on to our fourth accuser, and we know nothing about him. So what do we call him? Jane Doe or John Doe? We'll call him John Doe. So John Doe had a lot to say. I mean, he was 16 at the time, and I guess Kevin was 35, and supposedly Kevin told John Doe that he had issues with his peener and he couldn't get it to work. He couldn't get it to go up because of a medical condition. Why is this included in the lawsuit? I have no idea. But this kid was 16 years old when he met Kevin walking on a beach in Miami. The pair kept in touch over phone, but then this 16-year-old kid was struggling at home and wanted to run away. This guy, Kevin, was like, you know what? I'll be like a father to you. Come to the city. I'll take care of you. Sounds like grooming 101. So this guy got to Kevin's place. He paid for a plane ticket and Kevin was going to take care of him. And of course, as soon as he got there, they got physical and intimate with each other, something that John Doe did not want to happen. John Doe actually wrote in a memoir that when he and Kevin hooked up, they would play father and son. Keep in mind that Kevin's twice the age of this kid. So I just it sounds really honestly traumatizing because it's not even one-off cases with this man. It's relationships he's building with them and picking off vulnerable people. This guy was running away from home, so he promised to be his father figure and, take what he wanted. But what's different about this fourth accuser is that Kevin paid for him to cross state lines for the purpose of engaging in sexual activity. So this actually could result in him facing criminal charges because it's almost borderline human trafficking. After all of these men came forward, they received so much hate online. I mean, take yourself back to 2010. People were so ruthless, so nasty, no support. They were all attacking them, claiming that they were just trying to set up good old ELMO. I get really frustrated with the justice system because people love to say, oh, times have changed, times have changed. Well, it doesn't change what happened back then. And there's no support at all for these victims. They all put themselves out there, filed lawsuits, did exactly what they're supposed to do. But ultimately, the judge had to throw it out because of the statute of limitations. And I really think that we as society need to relook at the statute of limitations and see where this should apply to, because this guy clearly has a problem. He likes 15, 16-year-old boys. He's been able to get away with it for over a decade. He quietly left Sesame Street, never faced any criminal charges. How the hell do we know that he's not doing this to more minors? I just want you guys to know that I stand for those victims and anyone else who speaks out against these celebrities, whether 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 10 minutes ago, I'm here for you. Here's my email if you guys have any other video ideas for me. Let's go ahead and open this P.O. Box package item. If you guys ever want to send me anything, my address is listed below, but it looks like it's from Gabriella. So let's go ahead and see what she sent. I'm kind of nervous. I have no idea. Beautiful letter. I love the marker. Hi, Sloan. I love your channel, and I've been a follower since the Free Britney movement. I really enjoy you covering celebrity drama, and I can't wait to see what else you do and have to offer. I own a small Etsy shop with a variety of things, but I mostly focus on crochet projects. Oh, I love crocheting. In these packages, I included my best-selling crochet scrunchies, and a small plushie. My shop is Gabby's Customs, or you can look it up directly on gabbycustoms.com. I included a few cards for you and some friends. Oh, and you can get 15% off if you use code Sloan. That's awesome. Use code Sloan and get 15% off. So let's go ahead and see what she sent to me because, oh, these are so soft. What the heck? Oh my gosh. It's so soft. I don't have much hair, but they're so... Oh my gosh. I've crocheted before, but it's never been this soft. These are so soft and very well made. I don't know what you have inside of this, but cute. I love that. And then look at this. I'm going to have to keep this for my dog Bunny because she'll eat it up. But look at the little mushroom. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to bring this back to LA. But oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much, Gabby. I am super impressed. You guys need to go and check out her Etsy shop. And she gave me a bunch of cards. Cards with the print. Use code Sloan for 15% off. This is next level. This is unbelievable. I'm impressed. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.